We are now on air. Time for a total takeover.
It's finally here. Welcome to a new episode.
It's about to go down.
First and foremost, giving honor to God and to my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ for allowing me to see another day. Good morning, God bless, greetings and salutations, and welcome to another edition of the Dan Adams Show. And it is Wednesday, June 1st, ladies and gentlemen. We're already at the midway point of 2022, and we got a lot to do. And I got a lot to say at the moment, so let me go ahead and start. Get these thoughts off the dome. Backing the blue is not an absolute, ladies and gentlemen. For everyone that knows me knows that I support the police. I am a backer of the blue. But when the blue does something wrong, when police, when those authorities do not follow proper protocol, and when they don't step up and basically adhere to the solemn oath that they gave to protect and serve at all costs, even if that cost is their own life, then I have an issue. And I can sit here and be a Monday morning quarterback and say, Dan, you ain't a police officer. You don't know what we go through. Absolutely. I don't know what you go through. I'm not a police officer. But when you sign up to be a police officer and you make that solemn oath to protect and serve, even at the cost of your own life, this is what you do. Now, a lot of people are going to be like, damn, Dan, that's kind of cold. Well, I'm just thinking, until we have the complete and the accurate depiction of what happened at Uvalde, Texas, at Robb Elementary, and how the police response, and it seemed like in many eyes, was inadequate, inept, and downright just cowardice. That's how some people are viewing it right now. It's just not me seeing it from a different lens. There's people that's taking it way over the top and saying that the Uvalde Police Department were cowards for not going in and immediately going in. And as we break down, I have a lot of questions as in regards to all the 911 calls that happened before the shooter even got into the school. Like when he crashed his truck, where was the police? Obviously, if you look at the crash, there's no way he just got out and ran into the school. Had to have been a good at least 5 to 10 minutes or so before he gathered himself, before he stepped into the school, which, as we've learned, a teacher had the door propped open. I mean, I'm not blaming this teacher at all. I am blaming this for the shooting, but I am blaming this teacher for leaving that door propped open. What is this 2022, ladies and gentlemen? You don't leave a school door propped open. Hello? But get back to the police response. And I'm only going to talk about this for a couple minutes, and I want to jump onto something else. And as I'm seeing here, there's a train that's going to stop yours truly from getting to work on time. But anywho, back to the police response in Uvalde, Texas, Robb Elementary. And like I said, I am not a police officer. But when you make that oath to protect and serve, even at the cost of your own life, and my thing is, 2 weeks prior to the shooting, they had training. The Uvalde Police Department went through training in regards to how to respond to an active shooter incident. An active shooter in a school, what we need to do to eliminate the threat. I'm thinking to myself, did any of that training take over when police arrived at Robb Elementary School? From what I'm seeing, it didn't. Because why did it take a Border Patrol officer to go in and take out said shooter? Got to think about that. Is training a big issue within certain police departments? Not all, because obviously 2 weeks prior to this horrific tragedy, they went through training on how to handle an active shooter. So where was the breakdown? I'm just asking questions. I don't have the answers. I'm asking questions and would like some answers. Now, I want to move on to another aspect, and I got to post my show from yesterday. You'll see that early this morning, and you'll see this episode later today. But I want to talk about the social media aspect of the Uvalde shooting. And where was the social media giants? You have individuals like myself who really, I have like 10,000 YouTube subscribers. That ain't nothing, okay? But yet, if I do something like misgender somebody, or they believe I'm putting out COVID misinformation, or this or that, I could get dinged like that almost instantaneously. But where was the social media giants when the Uvalde shooter went online, went on their platforms and said, I'm about to go shoot up this school? Where were they? And then you got the so-called minister of truth, I forgot her, Jankowicz, coming out and saying that if the ministry of truth, the disinformation board was allowed to be in effect, that it would have stopped the Uvalde shooter. Lord have mercy. These people are so full of themselves, it is almost laughable. And I'm not laughing. This isn't a freaking laughing matter. But for them to come out and say that, they have major cojones. But back to the topic at hand. Hello, Facebook. Hello, Instagram. Hello, TikTok. Hello, Google, YouTube. Hello, any social media giant that allows live streaming. And whatever live streaming platform the Uvalde shooter used to announce that he was going to go shoot up this school, you would think there would be a trigger, an immediate trigger, because if I misgender somebody or call someone out in regards to gender pronouns or sexual identity and sexual fluidity and all that complete and utter nonsense, then you're dinged immediately. You're called out immediately. You get a strike against you immediately. So where was the social media giants when the Uvalde shooter announced he was going to go shoot up the school? Not saying that it's the social media giants' fault, but I'm asking the question, where were the algorithms when the Uvalde shooter posted that he was going to go shoot up an elementary school? I believe that's a legit question. I believe that's a question that needs to be answered. But is the proper people in charge going to ask that question? No. You got leftist politicians, leftist mainstream media pundits, and blue checkmark Twitter numbnuts wanting to take away guns from law-abiding citizens. That's their answer. I'm just about done with my portion of today. It's short and sweet today. And I think I'm gonna, I don't know. It might be a surprise as to what clips I play today. So, you know, be on your P's and Q's, as they say. But, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know what the future holds in regards to this inflation, this Biden inflation that we're currently struggling with. Because I know my family and I are struggling with it right now. and other families that are in the same economic situation that we're in are struggling right now, trying to maintain, trying to make sure that we have a roof over our head, clothes on our backs, food to provide us the sustenance to continue on with life. I don't know where we're headed, but I do know this. I'm laying it at the feet of God. I am laying it at the feet of my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, but I'm also putting on that armor to fight. Fight, fight, fight. So until next time, God bless you and yours. May He keep you and your family safe. God bless. Peace.
That's why we're meeting, folks, and thank you for coming in.
Mr. President, why do you think there is such high?
Let's go, guys. Thank you. Come on, let's go. Come on, guys. Thank you. Let's go.
Whose fault is
Thank
all
you.
this?
Let's go. Come on, guys. Let's go. Thank you. Let's go.
Mr. President, whose fault
Thank
is
you.
all this?
Let's go. Come on, guys. Let's go. Thank you. Let's go. Come on, guys. Let's go.
There's something wrong with his medulla oblongata.
Go ahead.
The president has talked about understanding from his life experience those difficulties, economic hardships, and so forth. Does he consider it a crisis for American families that prices are at this 40-year high?
He understands the hardship that people are going through. He understands how difficult it is for families. He understands that. That's why he has done everything that he can and taken steps in many different ways to make sure that we lower cost. We announced new actions to give farmers the tools and resources they need to boost production and lower food prices and feed the world. High-speed internet for tens of millions of Americans. We announced new steps with the private sector to lower those prices. The nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office found that the deficit fell by $1.5 trillion this year, and it actually fell even more in most regions.
Is it a problem? Is it a hardship? Is it a crisis? What is it that people are facing?
We're just in a difficult time right now with this inflation. That's why he's doing everything that he can. Look, his op-ed.
I always rely on you for coverage of gun issues. What does the rest of the media need to do differently? Or what should we do to be better when covering this issue?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, I think the very base level, we need better literacy about guns, about our gun laws, how they work, about the gun politics, why people oppose these sorts of restrictions that you often hear called for in the media. I don't think that there is even a base level of knowledge that we have in our industry. And I think a large part of that is not just bias that people talk about, that is an issue, but mainly there's no beat. Nobody covers this in our industry on a regular basis. It's not something that's prioritized. And so when there are events that happen like this, what you get is reporters who are general assignment reporters who don't have knowledge on the subject, and that's where mistakes get made constantly.
Interesting.
But of course, I'm not talking about you needing an expert level of education to comment on firearms. I think what we have issue in our industry is that we don't very, very rarely have even a base level, even an understanding of the difference between semi-automatic and automatic. And these things matter significantly when you're trying to discuss policy responses to this and trying to explain to the audience what they would actually do and what the impact would really be.
Certainly, as the president says, inflation is the #1 domestic economic problem facing the United States right now. But it wasn't just the president who got it wrong a year or so ago. I want to play for you what you said about inflation last year. Listen to this.
Is there a risk of inflation? I think there's a small risk, and I think it's manageable. I don't anticipate that inflation is going to be a problem, but it is something that we're watching very carefully.
Was it a mistake, Madam Secretary, to downplay this inflation risk? Did that contribute to the problems we're all seeing right now?
Well, look, I think I was wrong then about the path that inflation would take. As I mentioned, there have been unanticipated and large shocks to the economy that have boosted energy and food prices and supply bottlenecks that have affected our economy badly that I at the time didn't fully understand, but we recognize that now. The Federal Reserve is taking the steps that it needs to take. It's up to them to decide what to do. And for our part, President Biden is focused on supplementing what the Fed does with actions we can take to lower the costs that Americans face for important expenditures they have in their budgets. Prescription drugs is one example. Healthcare costs, another example. Utility bills. If Congress is willing to pass some of the proposals to boost the use of non-renewables, I think that can serve to bring down an important cost that households face. He realizes, we all realize, what an important and huge burden inflation is placing on American households.
We've all seen the gas prices explode over the past year here in the United States, and which is a real problem, obviously, for so many. But let me just follow up. You say you were wrong in your assessment of inflation a year or so ago. Just today, the former U.S. Treasury Secretary, Larry Summers, a man you know well, said the Federal Reserve needs to do some, quote, considerable soul searching right now about how badly they missed the gravity of the inflation problem. Is Larry Summers right?
Look, I'm not going to comment on the Fed's policies. Chair Powell has made clear that he has every intention and believes, as I would, that the Fed has the tools to bring inflation down, and that's his focus. You know, the Fed has a dual mandate. The economy is, I think it's fair to say, operating at full employment with the strongest job market in generations. Inflation's too high, and it's got to be brought down.
Is it going to get worse in the short term?
Well, you know, core inflation has come down. It's still too high, but in recent reports, we've seen it move down, and that's an encouraging sign. But oil prices are high. Russia continues to wage war against Ukraine. We're trying, and the Europeans are trying to address that and limit his ability to wage this war. There can be impacts on energy and food prices that, you know, we can do everything we can domestically to control. The president has authorized historic releases of oil from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, but we can't rule out further shocks.
Well, it is a forced statement, and it's a force because gun ownership isn't just about the NRA. It's about an entire identity, and it's intertwined in many ways like a braid with our notions of masculinity, of racism, and guns. And it's those three issues that we have seen over decades really strengthen and grow within the conservative movement. You know, it's no accident that back when guns were first mass manufactured, you had some of the earliest manufacturers recognize that in order to sell more guns, they should wrap their firearms in notions of masculinity, right? That having a gun really makes you a man or makes you a real man. And they used that kind of language, those kinds of marketing campaigns to help push their products, not to mention, of course, all of the racist undertones that we have seen in that marketing and that we still see today. So it's about a larger cultural identity. That's the strength of the NRA, and that's the strength, I think, and really kind of the barrier that a lot of us who want to see tougher gun laws are up against.
Where do we go from here? I mean, you may have caught my conversation with Congressman Mondaire Jones. Without filibuster reform, can anything meaningful be accomplished to keep tragedies like this from being repeated every 10 days?
Yeah, I mean, this is a key question. And of course, we need filibuster reform. We need to expand the court, as you were discussing. But frankly, you know, this is a long-term effort, right? And we need to really rewrite the script. And voters, I think, certainly survivors who I talk to all across the country, they want to see this president play a major part in rewriting that script by barnstorming the country, calling and building support for change, by, again, opening a White White House Office of Gun Violence Prevention. Because, Eamon, if you have these conspiracies take root on the right, you need a counterbalance, right? Leaders on the left or in the middle really need to, I think, aggressively push against those notions, but also make a public case and energize those 90% plus of Americans who support background checks and assault weapon bans and other kinds of reforms. Translate that support into real political power. It's up to them. It's not going to be easy because of the systemic challenges you outlined, but I think voters will reward politicians who fight for them.
But these are very, very dynamic, real-world adult issues. And we're starting at kindergarten through third grade, and things that, frankly, even adults struggle with, as we know. At that age, it's really important to just kind of major on the majors, you know, the reading and the writing and the arithmetic, especially in our great state of Virginia, where, sadly, the 8th grade proficiency level for reading is at 34%. And that's in Virginia. Where in Europe, it's 96%. So to try to tackle these politically charged, very dynamic, sort of social, hot buttons at such a young age, it seems very inappropriate, especially when a parent should be the first person to actually have those types of conversations with their child.
They're lowering the age of our sex ed program to 4th grade, and they're making it co-ed, which is, not good because it makes the kids uncomfortable. Obviously, it's not appropriate to have the boys and the girls, at such a young age, covering the sex ed together. And then also because the SRR has a change on the use of malicious misgendering of gender pronouns. And they're making it a suspendable offense.
Too far, too much, too young. That's the easiest way to say it. Back when I was going in school, elementary, it was common sense classroom. And I think a lot of people, a lot of parents, even taxpayers who don't have kids, they believe in a common sense classroom. And it's ridiculous if, for instance, I asked my son this morning what he was gonna learn. He said math, science, language arts, writing, and he said, "Oh, science." That's what we want to hear. Right? We don't want to hear, "I got punished today because I called somebody by the wrong pronoun."
They are expanding upon information that students even are hearing here at school, but you would never even dream of mentioning in an adult working environment. Some of the things that kids are being told in school, or even literature that they're receiving in school, is if you sold it on the street or if you had it on the street, you'd be criminalized for it. So why is it that our youngest children are being preyed upon? And I have 2 young children myself, and I think it's a travesty that parents have to be so concerned and pick through every last bit of information that their kids might be viewing in school.
They have an option as to whether they're female or male is, first of all, wrong. We don't. We're born one way or the other. And to start giving children who don't even know which is their right, which is their left hand, to tell them they have a choice as to their sex is abuse, child abuse in my book.
Politico, and no publication is sucked up to Biden harder than Politico, but Politico is reporting that the Biden White House is awash in malignant white supremacy. Are you surprised? Not really, of course. Quote, "At least 21 black staffers have left the Biden White House since late last year or are planning to leave soon." Now, sources blame the, quote, work environment, in other words, the racism of the Biden administration. So things have gotten very bad for Joe Biden, both public-facing and internally. What are they doing about it? Well, they broke glass in case of emergency and invited a Korean pop group to speak at the White House today. Watch.
Hi, we're BTS, and it is a great honor to be invited to the White House today to discuss the important issues of anti-Asian hate crimes, Asian inclusion, and diversity.
Yeah, so we got a Korean pop group to discuss anti-Asian hate crimes in the United States. Okay, good job, guys. As Noah Pollack points out, quote, "The Biden administration is defending anti-Asian racial discrimination in university admissions in a case before the Supreme Court, in case you wanted to compare substance versus PR." It's not even very good PR. And this is not even the first time the Biden administration has done something like this. Last August, they invited a TikTok star to the White House because that'll make things better.
Hi, my name is Cooper, and this is a day in my life as a White House intern.
We did it, Joe. Hey, everyone. Vogue. Hey, Jenny. I booked you a nail appointment, love.
Yeah, I didn't tell you to do that.
It's called Initiative. Hi, White House. This is Cooper. I don't think so.
Yep. They hate the country, trying to degrade it, and it's working. But the headline here is that the white supremacy in the Biden White House is so intense, 21 black staffers. Can there be more than 21 total? Not a huge staff at the White House. 21 black staffers have fled. Speaking of the new Jim Crow, Candace Owens is the founder of the charity Blexit. She's probably not surprised by this. She joins us tonight. Candace, are you surprised at the racism, the white supremacy at the White House is so intense that black staffers are fleeing for their lives?
I have to say I'm a little bit upset that I'm not involved in these strategy sessions at the White House. I just picture them all sitting around a table and just, quick, black people are waking up and they're not happy. Grab me an Asian and put him in front of the podium. We've got to shift here and shift gears completely on the PR strategy. I mean, this is actually what they're doing, right? Because black Americans, first and foremost, what's happening parallel to this is black Americans are waking up to the lie that was Black Lives Matter. So at the same time, you're having these black Americans that were quite literally just given these positions. They weren't meant to do anything. They never wanted them to actually do anything. They probably were underqualified for the positions that they even had. But the idea was, oh, look, we're getting on our knees, literally, if you're Nancy Pelosi, to the Black Lives Matter narrative, right? Remember, she did that notorious bow and got down on one knee. And we're going to do this and show you that we're going to hire a bunch of black people, but we don't actually care what they think. We just need them to sit there and be black. Now the black Americans in the White House are waking up and going, you know what, that's not okay with me. And they're frantically searching to drum up a new narrative of hate. And this one's going to be Asian American, Asian Lives Matter, quick grab me K-pop, and hopefully America's going to fall for this, when in reality we're focused on the gas prices, the inflation prices, and it's just an absolute complete joke.
Is there anything more destructive than white liberal guilt? It feels like it's hurt more people than nuclear weapons.
It really has, and people are starting to see that. Even Patrisse Cullors, right, the person who started Black Lives Matter, basically said, well, it's not my fault that you guys gave me your white guilty dollars and I lied about what I did with it and bought myself an entire real estate empire, and that's the truth. So it's not just black Americans that need to have an awakening, it's white Americans. You know, you have to stop allowing people to manipulate you emotionally and tell you that you're a bad person just because you're born a certain color. And hopefully we're going to start to see that as we head into this election cycle.
People who hate themselves are not good leaders. Weak men and unhappy women.
I agree.
That's the Democratic Party.
This is another Soul Square track. The boys from the land of France. When I say hip hop is universal, it's universal. Yeah. Now let's get back to the basics. Details so minute you can't trace it. So don't put a wrench in the works. Please sit down and leave it to the experts. I don't have time for resistance. Read the fine print before getting into this. It may be unsavory to your health, because my lyrics are still under the radar. Better get invisible. Time to the top. There is no equal. So square, send me this funky track so I can react. Full contact, all out, abandon, control the question. Let's see who can make it through the session of interrogation and the scrutiny. No blacks from my lyrical infantry. This jazzy hip-hop soul is making you lose control. Transcending space and time with funky rhyme. Now it's all in your mind. This jazzy hip-hop soul is making you lose control. Transcending space and time with funky rhyme. Now it's all in your mind. Paralyzed, hypnotized, my thoughts describe your first impression, the lesson that's been learned. Please take heed. Don't fall into the realm of greed that haunts MCs today. Not being preachy is an emergency. All points bulletin has been issued. Just like a smart wall, let me diffuse the tension that may build. My vibe medicates, so take this pill. Rhymes fulfilled and bless the congregation. Never shaking my concentration. Yeah, like cayenne pepper. Sweat hits the paper on this hip-hop level. No more whackness I can take. Into this right, coming back from the grave. This jazzy hip-hop soul is making you lose control. Transcending space and time with the funky rhyme. Now it's all in your mind. This jazzy hip-hop soul is making you lose control. Transcending space and time with the funky rhyme. Now it's all in your mind. Hold on. I have 1 minute to spare. Make sure my point comes across. Never look at the flaws that the game. Use the resume. Speaks full with self, with musical wealth. Indefinite, lyrically infinite. Always on the rise like the nation's deficit. I have many methods to choose from. Earning every quarter which proceeds the order. Timelines corrupted, it seems much shorter. Defragment to your rhymes won't make a difference. Let's suspend this under nonsense. Let's refocus. The task at hand is finished. Never like a days ago with the lyrical concepts that I tend to push. Truly amazed like the burning bush. No doubt, this jazzy hip-hop soul is making you lose control. Transcending space and time with the smoky rhyme. Now it's all in your mind. This is jazzy hip-hop soul is making you lose control. Transcending space and time with the smoky rhyme. Now it's all in your mind. This jazzy hip-hop soul making you lose control. Transcending space and time with the funky rhyme. Now it's all in your mind. This jazzy hip-hop soul making you lose control. Transcending space and time with the funky rhyme. Now it's all in your mind. Thank you, thank you.